Hey, this is Kevin Syracuse. We're live outside here at Sports Hour.
Did you get that?
Oh my God! Don't make it hit your face.
I understand it's football, but it's not football.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome into our last episode of Sports Hour for the year and for most of our careers, as sad as that is to say. Kevin Syracuse, your host, Sarah Gordon, the new GM, actually, of the TV station, so Sarah will be back next year.
Yeah.
Her and Trevor are going to have to carry this thing on here.
Sure.
So first of all, congratulations on that.
Thank you, Kevin. And congratulations to you all for your last show.
Thank you. So, yeah. Before we get into the NFL tonight, we have a big show loaded up for you here. 6 segments. We have just pretty much everything lined up for you so we can all get on air tonight. We can all say our goodbyes, all share some memories. So hopefully you don't have too much homework tonight and you can keep us on for a bit. So that being said, Sarah, what did you think about the NFL draft? First for the Buffalo Bills.
I think it definitely was a positive for the Bills. Like you said, we were talking about this before. They're getting some people for now, and they're also building up for the future. Like they got their number 1 round 1 pick, Gregory Rousseau, defensive end from University at Miami, and I think that he's definitely going to play a big role leading down in the future. And then round 2, they got Carlos Basham Jr., who's also a defensive end from Wake Forest. So, like you see right there, they already have some defensive ends on the team. Some regulars are going to be coming back, but they're building up for the future, trying to get some new players to learn from the more experienced ones. So I think that's a good start for them.
Yeah, I really like their picks because this wasn't going to be a flashy draft. Gone are the days where you go into the draft and say, wow, we really need this or we really need that. The Bills have everything that they need. Now it's just a matter of completing the roster, patching a few holes here and there, and building for the future. And that's exactly what they did because I've been saying all semester, one of the needs that they still needed was an edge rusher. And what they do with their first 2 picks, like you just said, they got 2 edge rushers. And people are saying Greg Rousseau, who, by the way, was 2nd in the nation in sacks, in 2019, he opted out in 2020 due to COVID. And then Boogie Basham, he was, I believe, 4th all-time in sacks at Wake Forest. And the 2 of them together, they're saying they could be the next big tandem for defensive linemen in the NFL.
Yeah.
But I love that because they filled a need for now and for the future, too, because these guys might not come in right away and be impactful players. They still have Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison, who are still playing at a high level. But you add 2 guys like this who can help now. The Bills love playing with rotations. So maybe on 2nd down, these guys can come in, and then Hughes and Addison can come back for 3rd down. You know, they can split snaps. But the big thing is they're the 2 linemen of the future. Because
Absolutely.
I think, you know, the Bills were saying, hey, these are 2 defensive ends that we want to roll with for years to come. And they still have Darryl Johnson, too, Mike Love. So there are still options, but I really like that. And then, sticking with the theme of building for the future, they did the same thing on the offensive line, too. They got Spencer Brown, a big offensive tackle from Northern Iowa, with their 3rd round pick. And then, with their 5th round pick, they got Tommy Doyle, an offensive tackle from Miami of Ohio. And then with their last pick in the 7th round, they got Jack Anderson, a guard from Texas Tech. So 3 offensive linemen, 2 defensive linemen. 5 out of their 7 picks were from the Lions. So again, they're trying to help now and build for the future.
Yeah.
And then the other 2 picks, 3 picks actually. Marquez Stevenson, a really speedy wide receiver from Houston. Rashad Wildgoose, cornerback from Wisconsin, and then Damar Hamlin, a safety from Pittsburgh. So other, I wouldn't say needs, but they needed some more depth to fill out from those positions too.
Yeah, and I noticed that this draft is definitely a lot different from the previous years because, as you said, the Bills aren't as desperate, like, oh, they have to get a quarterback right now. They have to get a wide receivers, which is what they got a lot of last year. They're trying to build up for the future because they have, like you said, they have positions pretty filled for the most part. So this draft definitely looked a little bit different, and a lot of these linemen are going to play a big role when they play teams like Kansas City, who you could just have the two edge rushers go, definitely help take out Patrick Mahomes and contribute that way for sure.
And that was the other thing. They addressed what they needed to. They still went with the method of taking the best player available, but they also addressed the small needs that they did have. And I really like that they did not take a running back, because people were saying, oh, they need a running back, they need a RB1, they need this, they need that. But I've been saying it right along. You have Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, and you sign Matt Breida. You still have Antonio Williams, Christian Wade. 5 really good running backs right there. So I'm glad that they didn't crowd the room there, and they just further addressed the other needs. So I think it was a very good draft overall for the Bills. Wasn't going to be, like I said, wasn't going to be like that home run draft, like the Josh Allen and Tremaine Edmonds draft.
Of course.
But I think it was a solid draft.
Absolutely, I agree. And if you take a look at any of the websites, the Bills have gotten, their ratings are in A's, A-, B+ for that type of thing. So I think it definitely was another successful year for them.
So, that being said, as for the rest of the draft, what were your thoughts on that? Because I think the big thing right away that sticks out is that 5 quarterbacks were taken within the first 15 picks.
Yeah, absolutely. You have, first and foremost, you have Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback from Clemson, going to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and that's going to be great for them. Obviously, with a lot of these teams, you're going to still have maybe a year where you're still adjusting, because even with these big college star quarterbacks, you're still have this team like the Jaguars, who's also had a new head coach, so they're still going to be adjusting to things and probably trying to build around players like Lawrence, and then Trey Lance from the quarterback from North Dakota State. He was the 3rd pick in the first round, and he went to San Francisco, and he's another one who's been highly regarded as a top 5 quarterback. So these players are definitely going to contribute a lot to their teams. They might still have, like I said before, they might still have an adjustment year, but they're definitely going to start picking up these teams, and hopefully Lawrence will help the Jaguars not have another 1-15 season.
Yeah, so the first 5 quarterbacks taken in the draft were, like you said, Trevor Lawrence went number 1 overall to Jacksonville. Zach Wilson went number 2 overall to the Jets. Trey Lance, like you said, went to the 49ers at 3. And then the Chicago Bears traded up and finally got their guy, or so we think, Justin Fields, quarterback from Ohio State, at number 11. And then Mac Jones fell to the Patriots at 15. So I was, let's see, how should I put this? I think the biggest surprise for me was Trey Lance, because everyone knew that Trevor Lawrence was going to the Jaguars. It was pretty much tank for Lawrence for the past couple of years. And Zach Wilson, after he had that 70-yard pass across his body at his pro day, that was pretty obvious that he was going to go to the Jets. But Trey Lance, that's really interesting, because that's exactly like Josh Allen. Comes from a small school that didn't have the best competition, but he has a ton of upside. And maybe his stats weren't the best, but he's got that big body, he's very athletic, and teams like that upside. And I saw a tweet, it was pretty interesting. It said, if Josh Allen didn't have as good of a year as he did this year, Trey Lance might not have gotten picked that high. Because now Josh Allen's like that example. Like, hey, you can take a guy that's very raw with a lot of upside, and look what you can turn him into. So the 49ers saw that, and they took Trey Lance, because I heard rumors that they were going to take Mac Jones at 3, Justin Fields at 3, but ultimately they went with Trey Lance.
And you still have Jimmy Garoppolo over there, so as long as whatever happens with those trading rumors, as long as he's not traded or anything, but he's most likely still going to be the starter for them. So you're definitely going to have this time where Trey Lance is just going to sit and just watch and learn and gain experience, so he could be, like a potential next Josh Allen, as you're saying.
And I really like it for the Bears, too, because Justin Fields kind of fell to them. I know they had to trade up for him and they gave up a lot, but still, to walk away out of that draft with Justin Fields, you got to be feeling pretty good because I think he was he was a great quarterback. Obviously, he's one of the top 5 in there, but he was, for me, probably in the top 3, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. He definitely has a lot to offer them, and he's, just got to have these adjustment periods where he's going to help probably take the Bears up to the next level and kind of, help them improve over the years for sure.
Now, just a couple minutes left, so I want to get into some of the other positions. So first, number 4, Kyle Pitts, the highest ever tight end that got drafted to number 4 to Atlanta. That was kind of pretty obvious. I saw a lot of mock drafts. They pretty much all had him going to Atlanta, but the big surprise to me was that the Bengals went wide receiver. They reunited Joe Burrow with Jamar Chase out of LSU. He opted out last year after having a huge sophomore season, but Chase is reunited with Burrow. But the bigger story there is that they left a generational talent out on the boards. Penei Sewell, he went to Detroit at 7. So I know Jamar Chase is great, and to get him to reunite with Burrow is awesome, but you got to be able to protect Burrow first if you want him to throw the ball to someone.
Yeah, that's true, because you got to be able to, like you said, protect the quarterback first and foremost. So that was definitely a surprising pick for them to go with, but we'll have to see how that pans out for them for sure.
And then it was kind of surprising to me too because the Dolphins went Jalen Waddle, wide receiver out of Alabama at 6, and then Davonte Smith fell to the Eagles at 10, I believe, right? Was there a trade with the Eagles and I can't remember who exactly traded where, but
Dallas maybe?
Yeah, there might have been a
little bit of a
I think it was like 10 to 12.
there.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Dallas was 10, Philadelphia's 12, and they flipped. So yeah, so Davonte Smith got picked number 10 to the Eagles, and I really like that. I think he was the best wide receiver in the draft. He had over 1,800 yards and I believe over 20 touchdowns last year. Jalen Waddle, he was kind of, didn't get as much of the spotlight because of that, but that'll be interesting to see. Any other thoughts on these notable picks in the top 15 or 20 before we sign off here? Not sign off, but go to the next segment.
Sign off for me. I mean, just with that Eagles and Cowboys switch, when Dallas fell to 12, they got Micah Parsons for linebacker, so that's going to be a good addition for them. And then for 13, you got Rashawn Slater going to the Chargers, and then 14, you got Jets, Elijah Vera Tucker, and then finally rounding out 15 top picks, you have Mac Jones, who's going to go to the Patriots. So a lot of these were just kind of different maneuvers that, like you said, definitely some surprises the day of when the draft came along, and a lot of different moves, but I think it was, a very successful draft this time around. So.
And then the other two big ones real quick. The Panthers got J.C. Horn, cornerback out of South Carolina, at number 8. And then the Broncos got Patrick Surtain, the second corner from Alabama at 9. So with that, thank you for coming on, Sarah. And thanks for coming on throughout the whole semester.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, as like I said, next year you and Trevor will be running the show. So
absolutely, we'll have a lot of big shoes to fill. So.
Well, with that, we will have Myra coming on for the last time to talk about the NBA. So stay tuned for that in 2 minutes.
We've been down there. You gotta do the same. Post office. All you do is sign. So don't get nervous. Sign your name. Post executive service. It takes no time. Just sign on the line at the poll. At the poll.
Hey guys, if you're about to turn 18, you've got to register with Selective Service.
It's simple.
Just go down to the post office, fill out a card, and turn it in. That's all there is to it. There's no draft now. You're just adding your name to Selective Service's list in case there's a national emergency.
So if you're 18 now, Selective Service, you gotta get down to the post office.
Register with Selective Service. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the law.
Takes no time. Just sign on the line at the post office. Selective Service.
What a great time for a drink. What a great time for a drink.
If it's time for a drink this many times a day, you're not a social drinker. You're a problem drinker. And you could be well on your way to really messing up your life. Think about it. Talk to somebody about it. Do something about it before it's too late. A message in the interest of your better health from the American Medical Association.
This is not a commercial. If you think measles, mumps, whooping cough, or polio are nothing to worry about, you'd better think again, because they could make your child go blind or deaf. They can cripple or kill. To protect children, you have to get them immunized. Get them their shots. It costs nothing or very little, so get it done now by your doctor or local health center. Your child's future is in your hands. Don't let her down.
A message in the interest of better health from the American Medical Association.
Meyer Mikulski joins us one last time to talk about the NBA. And Meyer, one last time, how you doing?
Yeah, this episode definitely hits different.
That's for sure. So we will be bringing you some NBA coverage for the last time here. And with that, Meyer, starting with Friday's games, we had a huge comeback between the Celtics and the Spurs as what was it, like a 48-point lead that the Spurs blew?
Actually, it was 32 at one point.
I thought I saw it was in the 40s, but either way, the Celtics won 143 to 140.
Okay, so what you were trying to say was that the Celtics, they were down 77 to 48 at halftime.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But I mean, the Celtics, they were able to stay resilient, and they made up ground. They started to make up ground in the second half by outscoring the Spurs 80 to 51. And I believe Jason Tatum, he was due for a performance like this. He's had a reputation as being an elite scorer ever since he was in high school. And as of right now, the Celtics, they currently have their head above water at the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, okay, so it was 72 to 48 at halftime, right? So I think
77.
77 to 48?
77 48, yeah.
Okay, so what was... It was a 32-point deficit. What was the stat I saw? It was like the largest deficit at halftime. Was that it, or?
I couldn't tell you, to be honest.
Okay, well, never mind that. It was a big comeback either way. I'm gonna try to find it because I know there's something there that I'm missing. But like Meyer said, the Celtics are 34 and 31 right now. They're in the 7th seed. So do you see this team making a run for it, as in being able to get into like that 3 or 4 spot?
Not at this point. Especially with the way they started the season, I don't believe they could make a push to get a higher seed.
And why do you think that they've been off to such a rocky start here this year?
I would say chemistry is the biggest issue with them, especially with the style of play. Like, they're an ISO-heavy team. And like I keep on saying, it's not going to be sustainable for success in the playoffs.
That's weird because they were always so good at sharing the ball and, ball movement and stuff, but just this year just hasn't seemed to work for them.
Yeah.
So then on the other side, what do you think about the Spurs? They're holding on to that 10 seed right now. Do you think they will maybe sit there at 10, or do you think they'll move up a little bit, or do you think the Pelicans can maybe slide in and the Spurs will drop out?
To answer your question, I don't believe in the Pelicans, and I believe that the Spurs will keep their spot in the play-in tournament. But I feel like this was a critical game for the Spurs. It looked as if they had this game in the bag, but it was a tale of two halves for them. They were dominant in the first half, but they let their guard down in the second half, and it showed. And the Spurs aren't the Spurs that we're used to.
So on the outside, it kind of seems like it's going to come down to the experience of Greg Popovich coaching versus the star power of Zion. So who are you going to take, Popovich or Zion?
I'm going with the Spurs. I feel like the way their team is constructed, I feel like they're better in that regard.
All right, well, next game that we have on our list here, Phoenix and Utah, and the Suns won 121 to 100, and now Phoenix is they are in first place in the Western Conference.
Yeah, and to add on to that, the Suns recently clinched the playoffs for the first time since 2010. And despite not scoring much in this game, I believe Chris Paul, he has a case for MVP, as many players do. in this season.
Yeah, that's always an interesting case because Chris Paul is always an MVP. He's always a valuable player to his team. He might not fill up the stat sheet like a guy like LeBron or Durant or Giannis or James Harden.
Yeah.
But he's so valuable. I mean, what was the stat I saw? The Thunder had like a 0.2% chance of making the playoffs.
They had no business being in the playoffs last year.
And he led them there last year. And now Phoenix. No one expected them to be this good. It's the Chris Paul effect.
Yeah.
He's just so valuable to his team.
Yeah, everywhere he's been, they've been a playoff team.
So, Utah, they're still having a great year too. It's neck and neck out there. They're actually tied for first place now.
But Phoenix has the tiebreaker.
Yeah. So Phoenix has a tiebreaker, but they're both 46 and 18. So both teams, I always love teams like that. Small market teams that are just really making a push. And not to get too far ahead of ourselves here, but Denver is in third right now. The Clippers are in fourth. Mavericks have jumped into the fifth seed, and then the Lakers are down at 6. So, that's interesting too with LeBron's injury and how that's going to unfold. So, actually, that being said, moving into Saturday's games, speaking of the Mavericks, they beat the Wizards 125-124.
So after struggling in the early part of the season, I believe now the Mavericks, they seem to be turning a corner. So to end the game, Finney-Smith, he had a critical corner 3, which is a product of Luka Doncic's ability to draw another defender towards him. And overall, this game, it went down to the wire, and it was a battle of absurd stat lines between Russell Westbrook, who almost had a triple-double, and Luka Doncic, who put up an absurd triple-double. And currently, the Mavericks are in 5th place in the West, and they've won 7 out of their last 10.
I remember at the beginning of the year, there were tweets surfacing of Luka staying in the arena extra hours after the games to get those shots in because he was just ice cold to start the year. But like you said, they've really turned it around now. And because LeBron and Anthony Davis were out, they've been able to leapfrog the Lakers. Like I said, actually they're tied right now, but they do hold the tiebreaker. Yeah. So next game, sticking out with that same portion of the Western Conference, Denver and the Clippers. This is a great game on Saturday night. Nuggets took this one 110-104.
In the last couple of games, the Nuggets, they've received the benefit of the whistle in critical moments. So there was a play where Jokic blocked Zion, but then later on, the NBA confirmed that play really should have been a foul. And then towards the end of the game, DeMarcus Cousins, he fouled Nikola Jokic twice at the three-point line. But overall, I believe the Nuggets, they seem to have the Clippers' number ever since the playoffs.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting too because like we say every week, can the Clippers actually get over the hump this year? Can they win in round 1? Can Kawhi and Paul George actually lead them to victory? And same thing for the Nuggets. They've been there last year, I know, but can they take that next step? Can they beat the Lakers this year? So that will be another interesting aspect to watch too.
In order to be the man, you got to beat the man.
So moving into Sunday's games, yesterday, this is a great game between the Nets and the Bucks, and the Bucks took this one 117-114.
Although the Nets didn't have their full squad, this win, I believe, is a confidence booster for the Bucks. And I believe the Bucks are in a similar position to the Clippers that, yes, they're known for their regular season success, but ultimately they're going to be judged by what they do in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, that's whenever you assemble a big 3 like that, a superstar team, the pressure's on, right? And that's going to be how they're judged this year. You can have as many wins as you want in the regular season, but it doesn't matter unless you win in the postseason. So it's kind of like the Clippers. They had the dynamic duo last year with Paul George and Kawhi. They didn't go anywhere. Well, we'll see what the Nets can do now. If they lose, it'll look like a failure.
Yeah.
But if they win, and a lot of people are expecting them to win, then they'll be like, wow, okay, this is an actual big 3 now.
Yeah, like the 96 Bulls said, don't mean a thing without a ring.
And finally, we saw the Raptors beat the Lakers 121-114.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, where has this version of the Raptors been all season? Had they played like this all season, I believe they would be a higher seed than they actually are right now. But there is still time for them to make up ground. But they got to keep playing this way in order to make that happen.
Well, they are 2.5 back of Washington right now, so you're right. I mean, if they keep playing like this, it's definitely doable. 72 games in the NBA season this year, and let's see, I'm not good at math. I'm just going to go based on some easy numbers here. Miami Heat are 35-30, so 65. About 7 games left for these teams. So it's definitely doable for the Raptors. And with that being said, now, the last couple minutes here, I just want to talk about some predictions here. So, what do you see out of these next couple weeks here? Playoffs start on May 22nd, by the way. So, from these next few weeks, what do you see? Do you see any teams shifting around? Do you see teams like the Raptors being able to get in? We're talking about the Lakers with LeBron coming back. Just what are your predictions for the regular season and then getting into the postseason?
So, I believe a team like the Washington Wizards could sneak into that 8th spot in the Eastern Conference.
And then what about the West?
On the West, that's a little bit harder to gauge. But if I had to choose a team that's in the play-in tournament right now, I would probably go with the Golden State Warriors because of Stephen Curry's presence on the court.
All right, and real quick, I see you have some player awards that you're predicting. You want to read those real quick?
Yeah.
And then I want to see who you think is going to be in the finals as well.
Okay, so MVP, Nikola Jokic. Rookie of the Year, LaMelo Ball. Defensive Player of the Year, Ben Simmons. Sixth Man of the Year, Jordan Clarkson. And Most Improved Player, Julius Randle.
Can't handle Randle. He's been on a tear this year for the Knicks. So real quick, NBA champion, who are you calling?
I think the Lakers could go back to back.
Yeah, it's hard to go away from LeBron, especially if he's back and healthy. So, I don't know. I don't know. I can't think this fast. Maybe Brooklyn. I want to say maybe Phoenix, maybe Utah, maybe one of those teams from the West can surprise someone. So, we'll have to see. Real quick, I did find the stat. The 29-point deficit at the half was the second largest halftime deficit overcame in NBA history. So, for the Spurs and the Celtics, that's what I was thinking of. But anyways, Meyer, thank you for coming on tonight and for all the times throughout your time here at Sports Hour. It's been fun talking some hoops with you.
Yeah, it's bittersweet, man. I'm gonna miss this, but we're all moving on to bigger and better things, and I wish everybody else good luck in their future endeavors.
All right, well, thanks, Meyer. And next, D. Thomas will be on to talk about the MLB.
When you have sex with someone who shoots up and shares needles or works, you could get AIDS. Even worse, you could have a baby with AIDS. Have the AIDS test first, before you get pregnant. Don't have a baby who's born to die. Get into drug treatment. Call 1-800-662-HELP. Stop shooting up AIDS.
I have welcomed people from all nations, your parents, grandparents, and I gave them a dream of freedom and hope. Now time and the elements are destroying me. I am in desperate need of help. America, you are my dream, and I am yours. If you still believe in me, save me.
Keep the torch lit. Send your contribution or call 1-800-THE-LADY.
Have you noticed? It's getting warmer. What's happening? Scientists call it the greenhouse effect, the gradual warming of the Earth caused in part by increased carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. This is Eddie Albert. I urge you to fight the greenhouse effect by planting trees. Our free booklet, Conservation Trees, will show you how. To get your copy, write the National Arbor Day Foundation, Nebraska City, Nebraska. Do it now.
How much do you know about whiplash? Test yourself. You can suffer whiplash in other activities besides being a passenger in a car. True or false? Whiplash comes from sudden movement of the neck. True or false? Silver critical neck problems can be the source of pain or disorder in other parts of the body. True or false? If you answered true on all the questions, you are correct. The American Chiropractic Association reminds you even a slight bump, jar, or twist can cause spine or neck problems.
D. Thomas joins us now to talk about the MLB. And tonight, D and I will be, first we're going to start with the Yankees, but the MLB came out with a cool article today that had an MVP from every team, all 30 teams. So we thought that was pretty
There's a lot of baseball
interesting.
to talk about, so.
Yeah, so they gave an MVP for each player so far, or for
April.
each team so far.
Basically
yeah, in April.
for the month of April, so.
So we thought that'd be cool to talk about, switch things up a bit. But first for the Yankees, they are back to 500. They're in third place. They've won 5 out of their last 6, and they swept the Tigers this past weekend.
I just have to say, it took them long enough. They were giving me a little bit of, some heart palpitations in the beginning of the season when they were in last place and Boston was in first. So I was kind of, sad for a little bit, but now that they're kind of like on a roll, they swept the Tigers. I mean, the Tigers were predicted not really to do well this year, but we got a couple of stats to go over from this weekend, so let's go into it.
So, do you want me to or you?
You can go into it. Go ahead.
So Jameson Taillon got his first win, and Corey Kluber got his 100th career win.
So I would have to say I'm very impressed by Corey Kluber's performance this year so far. When he signed with the Yankees, he hadn't pitched in over a year, 2 years, and he kind of had a rocky start. But to get his 100th career win yesterday and to also be named the AL Player of the Week with 14.2 innings pitched, 1 run allowed, and 15 strikeouts, that's super impressive. I have been impressed with his performance lately, and I could see him helping the Yankees in the long run.
Yeah, so that's been nice to see too. The pitching staff has been starting to come alive a little bit here. Like we said, Corey Kluber got his first win, AL Player of the Week. Garrett Cole, he's 4-1 now.
Yes.
And he gets the Pitcher of the Month. So starting to turn around here for the Bronx.
Oh, yeah,
the Bronx
for
Bombers.
sure. Jacob deGrom also got Pitcher of the Month, but for the National League. So both New York starters, got those honors this month. Hopefully, we'll get another Yankee that gets Pitcher of the Month for May. Time will tell.
So the Yankees are now going to Houston for their next series. They are off tonight, but they will be playing the Astros for a 7:05 first pitch. Or actually, it's in New York.
It is in New York.
So Houston will be coming to New York for a 7:05 first pitch tomorrow. So now getting into every team's MVP through the first month. So first, we'll just go division by division. So for the AL East, we have Vlad Guerrero Jr. for the Blue Jays, John Means with the Orioles, Tyler Glasnow with the Rays, JD Martinez with the Red Sox, and Garrett Cole with the Yanks.
I would have to say I'm not surprised about Guerrero. He has been, on fire lately. He batted .350, .490, and .663. He's 22 years old. Hopefully he's not carrying the Blue Jays with those numbers. Hoping his lineup will help him out. But, he's young. I don't expect anything less than that, to be honest, for being 22.
And I really hope we get to watch him in Buffalo because I would love to see Vlad put some balls out on the third way.
Do we know when that decision's going to come?
Well, last we reported on here was May 24th is when Toronto will get to know if they can have, the Canadian government's going to see if they can have international travel again.
Yeah, because we know the border's closed until the end of May,
So I really hope, I would love to see MLB in Buffalo.
Yeah, instead of driving 6 hours plus to New York in the Bronx.
You can go to Cleveland or Pittsburgh or Toronto, I guess, when there's no COVID.
I would prefer going to Yankee Stadium, but.
So then, any other key stats you want to go over in the AL East before we jump over to the Central?
No, not really. We talked about Garrett Cole. He had a 0.72 whip. So that's, he's doing good. I hope it doesn't go downhill from here. I hope it stays consistent.
So going to the Central now, Cleveland, Jose Ramirez took that honor. For the Royals, we saw Danny Duffy. Tigers, Matthew Boyd. The Twins, Byron Buxton. And for the White Sox, Yermin Mercedes.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't recognize any of these names. Going through and seeing Yermin Mercedes key stats, 415, 455, 659. Those are really good. He went 8 for 8 in the beginning of the season, which was really impressive. They might win the division, but like I said earlier, you can't rely on just one person in your lineup.
And then Byron Buxton, Twins center fielder, who's known for his defense and speed. He's hitting .426 this year. And then moving up the list here, Matthew Boyd. He has a .203 batting average allowed. Danny Duffy, .39 ERA. He's been with Kansas City for a while, so good to see him, finally take that next step. So far, at least, obviously it's still young. And then Jose Ramirez has a .908 OPS.
Which is crazy to see. Like, you don't normally see OPS is higher than 600, and to see a 900 OPS in just 1 month is pretty impressive.
So going over to the AL West now, of course, Mike Trout with the Angels, Matt Olsen with the A's, Yuli Gurriel with the Astros, Ty France with the Mariners, and then Nick Solak with the Rangers.
I'm not at all surprised about Mike Trout. When I said that 900 average for OPS was good, Mike Trout had a 1.304. He will probably be MVP again. For the National League, I could see it happening already in just the month of May.
And then Matt Olsen with the A's, the two Matts, Matt Olsen and Matt Chapman. They are the key players now for the A's. And, we were talking a few weeks ago how the A's weren't off to that hot of a start, but they had that 13-game winning streak, and now they are right back on top here. They are 17-12, 1 game up on Seattle, actually, in the AL West, which is surprising because the Mariners are usually in the bottom. But the A's are back on top, and I think a lot of it's due to Matt Olsen and Matt Chapman.
For sure, I agree with you.
So going over to the NL now. In the NL East, the Braves, Ronald Acuna Jr., Marlins, Jazz Chisholm Jr., the Mets, Jacob deGrom with a .51 ERA, Nationals, Trey Turner, and Phillies, Bryce Harper. So some more household names on this list.
I just have to say, Garrett Cole being the MVP for the Yankees for the month of April, not at all surprised about Jacob deGrom. His ERA is a .51 right now. I have to say, he's carrying the Mets. Right now, you have deGrom going out there and pitching his heart out, and then you put someone else in, and you almost blow your game. You can't rely on just one pitcher in your starting rotation. You need to rely on other guys, too, to keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, I think, I'm sorry, Yankees fans, but Jacob deGrom really is the best pitcher in the game right now. He is just so dominant, and if the Mets had a better team around him, he could have been, his numbers would look so much better over the years if he had an offense around him. So even though I'm a Yankees fan, for Jacob deGrom's sake, it would be nice to see the Mets be able to back him up this year.
Oh, I agree. The Mets, they just always, I feel like they've been relying on deGrom too much, that they need to, pick it up behind him. He probably relies on himself too much probably is afraid to, have people hit the ball and not rely on his defense. But, your offense needs to help your pitchers because you need to give them cushions because any point it could be 4-0, 5-0, 6-0, and your offense isn't helping you at all.
Going over to the NL Central, starting with the Brewers, Corbin Burns, 49 strikeouts, 0 walks. Yadier Molina for the Cardinals, Chris Bryant with the Cubs, Phillip Evans with the Pirates, and Tyler Mahle with the Reds.
Again, I don't really recognize any of these names except, Molina and Chris Bryant. Molina is just slugging it right now. He's got a .631 slugging average. He was injured a little bit, and now he's coming back. And, I haven't seen him throw out a lot of guys this year. I don't think after he threw out a few people within the first few weeks, anyone's been trying to steal on him either.
The ageless wonder just keeps getting it done. And finally, in the NL West, first for the Diamondbacks, Carson Kelly. Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw. Buster Posey with the Giants. Fernando Tatis Jr. with the Padres. And Ryan McMahon with the Rockies.
Clayton Kershaw, man, he's just an amazing pitcher. He's got a 0.91 whip, and it says here the Dodgers are still great, no longer on the path to the 130 win pace, but Clayton Kershaw just keeps doing his thing, doing what he's been doing, dominating. Hopefully they can outlast the Padres and make it to the World Series again.
All right, well, 1 minute left, so I just want to talk about your predictions because, obviously this is very early, but I just want to see what you think we can see over the summer here, because it's very close right now. The largest lead that any division has right now is a game and a half. The Red Sox are a game and a half up on the Blue Jays, and then the Royals are a game and a half up on the White Sox. But all the other divisions are even closer than that. So do you think we're going to see this throughout the whole year, or do you think some teams are going to start to pull away? Or just what are your thoughts as we progress through the summer here?
I just have to say probably like in the National League, Padres and Dodgers again are going to fight for the World Series. I feel like though it's going to come down to those two teams. And on the American side, I could see probably, I don't know, Boston's strong right now, but who knows? It probably will come crumbling down, and I'm not just saying that as a Yankee fan. I want to see that happen, but I could see Tampa Bay going all the way through too.
Yeah, Tampa is just like Oakland, small market team that just puts it together. And real quick for the Yankees, the big question is, can their bats come alive when they need them most? Because they have a lot of stars, but a lot of those guys can't get timely hits. So can they get those timely hits, and can their pitchers stay healthy?
Time will tell.
Well, Dee, thank you for coming on. And my last sports segment will be next with Josh and Jared as we will talk about the NHL.
Hi. You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home, just in case. If you're probably sober, then why would you do that? Good choice.
Probably okay isn't okay. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
That's a full glass of wine. I'll be chatting you later.
I realized that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you judge me for having a problem. No one is going to know that I need help. I need help. I know that no one is going to judge me for having a problem. I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you listen.
Oh, look, a redhead. Staring contest. You still got it. I know.
Come alive with the forest.
The dad was cute.
They were looking right at us.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. And as soon as I start to make my breakfast, Hamilton is right there. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. I mean, look at this little face. How could you not love him?
It's me, Artie. Come see what I collected from the Creative Galaxy in my idea box.
Transform your world.
Will you help me make art?
Before you throw it away,
Hey, I have an idea.
think outside the box.
Go be amazing!
Give your cardboard box another life. Recycle.
So, I'm kind of
Joins
new
me
here,
now to talk
but I've
about the
noticed a
NHL
trend.
and Jared Marsh, who is over to our right here. You'll be seeing him in a minute. And like Dee and I did with baseball, we're going to change the format a little bit, and we're going to talk about our favorite Sabres games of the past. But before we get into that, just a quick look at the standings. So first in the Central, Carolina, Florida, and Tampa Bay have clinched a playoff berth, with Nashville and Dallas fighting for that last spot. In the West, we have Vegas, Colorado, and Minnesota who have clinched so far. And then St. Louis and Arizona will be battling for that. Toronto is the only team up north to have clinched so far. They have 72 points. And finally, in the East, that is set. Now it's just a matter of which team is going to finish where. But it's Washington, Pittsburgh, Boston, and the Islanders who actually just lost to the Sabres, Josh. I didn't even realize. I'm already out of hockey mode.
Yeah.
But
we were talking before we came on, and I go, yeah, Michael Hauser just got his first win. And Kev's like, who's that? Who are you talking about? And it's the Sabres. The Sabres won tonight, 4-2. Sam Reinhart got 2 more goals. Please pay him. But yeah, Michael Hauser never played an NHL game in his career. Really, he's been an ECHL guy his entire career. He's only played, I think, 67 AHL games. So for him to come in and get his first start and his first win, it's awesome. He got 34 saves, I believe, so great night for him. But also, another great goalie that we want to talk about real quick. Ryan Miller announced he is retiring at the end of the season, and I'm very sad because he's my favorite goalie of all time, and it's a very close tie between him and Jason Pominville for my favorite Sabre of all time. So I'm really hoping he's going to sign a one-day contract with the Sabres before he officially retires, just so he can retire a Buffalo Sabre. But with that being said, why don't we talk about times when he was around? And
Yes.
he was doing amazing things because he's Ryan Miller.
So with that, Jared will kick things off.
All right, so there was a game on February 13th, 2009. So the significance about this game, though, it's also sad because it's the night after the crash of the flight 3407 in Clarence Center, which is about like 15 minutes from my house, which is crazy. So during this game, the arena was filled with full capacity, 18,690 fans. They just had like a moment of silence and all that, but it was a really good game because the Sabres were up 3-1 after the first period, so they had a lead. And goals were, again, scored by Adam Mayer, Jaroslav Spacek, and Derek Roy, which we have not heard these names in a long time. But San Jose comes back, and this is when they had Joe Pavelski, Joe Thornton, Patrick Marleau, all those guys like that.
This is when San Jose was in their prime.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So they come back and they lead the game 5-4, and then with just seconds left, Craig Rivet shoots the puck in a deflection.
Craig Rivet.
My bad. Shoots the puck.
He had to correct you on that one.
And it was a deflection by Jason Pominville, of course, as Josh said. So, again, this is a really, obviously, and then Derek Roy wins the game for the Sabres in the shootout. So, very sad day, but it was very good for the Sabres. And man, I just miss this team so much. Seriously, so much. So,
yeah, I mean, this was a couple years after we won the President's Trophy, and it's got Finneganov, Pominville, Miller, Gaustad, Roy, and one of your favorites, Jared, Patrick Coletta, local boy.
Oh, yeah.
His mom actually taught at my school. Fun fact.
Really?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. But yeah, no, I kind of remember that. I don't really remember that game, but I kind of do now that you're talking about it.
Yeah.
It was a really important game for us.
Yeah, it definitely was. And it definitely, again, I mean, obviously it was a really somber day for everybody, but it was good for the Sabres because they had a full crowd, which was amazing.
So then, working in reverse chronological order here. So my favorite memory of the Sabres, I quite often think about this. especially in the dark times that the Sabres are in now.
Well, yeah.
Game 5 of the 2007 Eastern Conference Semifinals between the Rangers when Chris Drury tied it with 8 seconds left, and then Maxim Afinogenov scored in overtime, and the place just went absolutely nuts. And that's still to this day, my favorite. I mean, then again, we haven't had too many good moments to compete with it, but I think even if the Sabres were good over these last few years, like nothing's going to top that. Like that's one of my first memories of the Sabres. When the Sabres used to be good, I remember just like the buzz around Western New York when the weather was breaking and then playoff hockey was on the verge.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, we went from football season and snow, to snow and hockey season, and then once the flowers started sprouting, it started getting warm, the snow was melting, that's when he knew it was time for playoff hockey.
And not to rag on you, Kev, but to be fair, Buffalo football back in those days wasn't very good.
Oh, I know.
So
yeah.
It was almost the reverse of what it is now.
Yeah. So like the Sabres were like the only good thing for Buffalo fans, and it was just so fun to look forward to every time of this year because you knew the Sabres were going to be in the playoffs, and as Josh will be talking about here, I mean, they made runs for the Stanley Cup back in our very early childhood.
Yeah.
But like, that game against the Rangers, I remember I was getting out of Little League practice, and everyone was like, oh, the Sabres are on, and we're gathering around our cars. And I remember Janneret just like completely went nuts.
I can hear it in my head right now.
Yeah, me too. And everyone's just going nuts in the parking lot. We race home and watch overtime, and then Afinogenov scores, dives head first.
He doesn't just score, he turns on the afterburner.
Yeah. And then the arena was just full, just packed. And then Party in the Plaza was nuts.
Oh my God, yeah.
And oh man, just watching that, it's just like literally every time I get goosebumps.
Yeah, that's such an amazing game. I mean, like you said, Kev, Drury ties it with 7. I thought it was 0.7 seconds, but it might have been 7 seconds. It was some crazy low amount of time left in the game, but everyone thought that the Rangers were just going to roll over it. Like every series that the Sabres had, that we're talking about here. I mean, except for Jared's wasn't a playoff one, but every series the 2 series me and Kevin are talking about, everyone thought, oh, the Sabres are going to get beat by these 2 teams. I mean, I'm going to be talking about Ottawa next, which we know that one was always fun, the Ottawa Sabres rivalry back in the day. But yeah, those games really, I mean, it's just like you said, Kev, it's a part of our childhood.
And real quick before you get into your memory, I want to throw in one other memory because I'd feel bad if I didn't mention this. I also won playoff tickets in 5th grade.
What?
I won a coloring contest.
Really?
It was The Goose is Loose. You had to color that in.
Yeah.
And I colored it blue and gold, and I was like, no, this isn't good enough. Like, what's going to make me stand out from all the other Western New Yorkers? So I colored in blue and gold diagonal lines across every letter. It took forever. And the lady was like, I loved it. It looked so nice. And my dad and I get there. 2 tickets to Game 1 in 2010 versus the Bruins, right behind the penalty box.
Wow.
Scan the ticket. They're not scanning. What? Tickets for Game 2. She put the wrong tickets in there.
Oh.
And I was going nuts. I'm like, no. So like, my dad and I are just like, for once I didn't scalp.
Right, and they were actually real.
Yeah, and just drive home, sad, listening to the Sabres win.
Well, then you got to go to the next game.
But then she sent 2 more tickets, so I got to take my mom and cousin, so 4 of us got to sit behind the penalty box. It was Saturday afternoon, so it was cool. We made a day out of it, and Sabres lost, but it was still cool. I mean, who gets to go to a playoff game because he won a coloring contest?
Yeah, that's cool.
So anyways, okay. Back to Ottawa.
No, you're okay. So mine is going to be Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Semifinals between the Sabres and the Senators. And this is when the Sabres are up 3-1. This is the series clinching game when Pominville, as you can see on the lower third there, Pominville scores the OT winner. This is this new kid, Jason Pominville, just coming out of the AHL. And little did he know, and little did we know, he was going to be a sensation in Buffalo. And my now all-time favorite player. I have to, it's got to be him. So, I mean, this play was absolutely electric. The Sabres were winning the whole game, and then actually it was more of a goalie shootout than anything. And Pominville comes flying down the wing in a 5-on-3 in overtime. The Sabres are shorthanded 5-on-3, mind you. And Pominville walks none other than Daniel Alfredsson, who was in his prime. and then dekes around Ray Emery and scores the OT winner. And I can hear RJ in my head, are you listening, Legion of Doom, here come the Buffalo Sabres.
Was that also the Now Do You Believe game?
I think so, yep. Yeah, I believe so. I mean, these teams were amazing. This was the best Ottawa team in recent memory for me, at least. I mean, you had guys like Danny Alfredson, Zdeno Chara, Martin Havlat, Danny Heatley. I mean,
Chara?
Yeah, Chara was on the Senators at one point. And he was on he was on the Senators. He was on the Islanders, too.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I remember the big goon was... what's his name? Oh, Chris Neal.
Yep, Chris Neal was there. Wade
Him
Redden,
and Coletta
Wade
would
Redden
always
too.
go at it. Yeah.
Jason Spezza. But yeah, I mean, but the Sabres. This Sabres team. Pominville, Drury, Briere, Miller, Teppo Newman, and Tony Ludman, Jay McKee, Brian Campbell, Jochen Hesch, Mike Greer. I can go on. I remember every single one of these guys. I mean, this was my, like you said, 2007 was your defining like first Sabres memory. This was my first Sabres memory. I mean, I always said I've been a fan for life, but this was it. I mean, this was where it all started.
Like, actually, my first memory was I remember my parents were watching something, and I was like, "Oh, what's on the TV?" And my dad was like explaining it to me, and he's like, "Oh, the Sabres are in the playoffs. Like, one more win, and they go to the Stanley Cup, which is like the ultimate goal." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool. I want to watch." And that was the year they lost to Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I watched. Did we lose in 6 games?
Yes.
Because I think I started watching game 4 or 5, and I got really into it, and then they lost in game 6.
Yeah,
and then
I was going to talk about that too, because that was when they had all their injuries, and there was like 5 AHL defensemen who had never played an NHL game in their lives up on the NHL roster in the game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals.
So, real quick, just remind me of the order. So that was 05-06, right? Mm-hmm. So it went from Ottawa to Carolina, right?
Yes. Yeah. And then Carolina played Edmonton and won it.
Okay, and then the next year in 06-07 with the Rangers, we beat the Islanders in the first round, then the Rangers, and then lost to the Senators.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I remember it very, very well. Because 05-06 was when we came out of the cellar, and then 06-07 was when we just popped off.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then, unfortunately, we've had a drought.
Been downhill after that.
But yeah, you know what? As the song says, better days. Yep. Better days are ahead.
Yep, for sure.
So, unfortunately, that is it for my time as a sports host here. I'm gonna go, sit over here, shed some tears, and then wipe them up and come back and say goodbye. Actually, I'm not gonna cry. But I will be back to say goodbye. But Josh and Jared will be talking about soccer next. We got some WWE. So until then, for about 20 minutes or so, half hour, I'll be over here, and then I'll come back and say goodbye. So stay tuned for some soccer.
Hey, you! You fellas must be strangers around here. I better straighten you out.
Something wrong, officer?
You just happen to be violating Section 17B, Article 4. That's all that's wrong.
The safety belt law. Oh, we never wear safety belts. We're dummies.
Now, look, you happen to be talking to the law. Don't you get smart-nosed with me.
How are we going to pay for this? We're always broke.
Let's get that vehicle out of here.
You could learn a lot from a dummy. Buckle your safety belt.
Where to? Body shop, 71st and 1st.
Yeah, no use. We love your commercials. Safety belts, right?
That's where you're going, man.
Tell her, missus, she loves you guys. She doesn't buckle up either.
Told you nobody's listening.
You need anybody? Listen, Odie driver's part-time. Really inaccurate. Things just a little slow. Right? Just put seatbelts in my cab. Nobody uses them. Guess they feel safe with me.
If we'd had half a brain, we'd have buckled up. Hey, bumper breath, I do have half a brain.
You could learn a lot from a dummy. Buckle your safety belt.
The American Cancer Society wants you to know that a meal which includes fish is simply more ammunition in the fight to reduce your cancer risk. To learn more, call us.
Vince, that new dummy cam is great.
Yeah, it'll sure give people a whole new outlook on what it's like when you don't wear a safety belt.
I think the
picture.
You could learn a lot from a dummy. Buckle your safety belt.
Welcome back, everybody. Now we're here to talk about some Super League news. I mean, there's not much to
not
say
much, really.
because the Super League is gone practically.
Yes, finally.
Yeah, I'm very happy that this went away. They must have heard our rant. That's what ended it.
Yeah.
But no, so basically, all 6 of these Premier League teams you see behind us here have left the Super League. They said, no, we're done. Real Madrid, I believe Barcelona, Juventus, and AC Milan, I think, are all still committed to the Super
still
League.
in there?
I think so. It's kind of a gray area right now because the president of Real Madrid is like, hey, you guys signed a contract, you need to stay here.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, no, we don't want to anymore.
Yeah.
So what's your whole take on like everything that's happened since we last talked about this?
I think, it's definitely really nice to see that this is disbanded because, again, I mean, you get to see guys like Messi and Ronaldo back in the World Cup. I mean, back where they... So, I don't know. I think we talked about this last time, but I can't remember or not. Is Messi going to stay on Barcelona, or is he talking about going to PSG? Or?
I mean, it depends on what Barcelona does.
Okay.
If Barcelona stays in the Super League, I don't know what's going to happen.
That's true.
I don't really know much, but I've heard rumors that if they stay in the Super League, he wants to leave.
Okay.
But again, they're rumors, so you never know. And probably the same thing would go with Ronaldo. I mean, Ronaldo probably wants to play in his last World Cup, most likely.
Yeah.
Same with Messi, and same with a lot of other people that are most likely going to be in their last World Cup or starting in their first World Cups, like Weston McKennie, Christian Pulisic. So right now, McKennie for the U.S. squad couldn't be in it because he's on Juventus, and if they're still in the Super League.
Yeah.
But Chelsea's no longer in it as of right now.
Yeah.
So Pulisic can play for the U.S. So there's a lot of gray area right now and a lot of just scratching your head. I mean, I don't really know. It's hard to keep a track of because it's very dramatic, in my opinion. I don't like how dramatic everyone's being.
Yeah, it was very dramatic, but it was also really nice to see that this whole thing just kind of disbanded. Hopefully we'll get to see a great World Cup next summer. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll be good.
Hopefully it doesn't mess any World Cups up, or mess any future World Cups up, including the one that's going to be here.
yeah, hopefully not. But however, the Super League did impact one Premier League team, Manchester United. So this was over the weekend. Manchester United was supposed to play against Liverpool. But there was a huge protest against the owners of the Glazers family. They took over back in 2005. They also owned, I can't remember, I know the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but I can't remember what year they owned them. But so they kind of took over this club, I guess, for the money I was reading. Like they kind of wanted the fame and all that. So yeah, I was reading about this and it was a very huge protest. And
yeah, because a lot of the issues with the Super League have come from basically American companies and American businessmen wanting money. I mean, that's really what the Super League is about, is money. It's not, well, I guess you could say it's about the primetime games with the best teams in the world, but like everything's boiled down to they just want money. I mean, Roberto Perez, I believe his name is, for Real Madrid, he doesn't care about soccer really, and it shows when he says like this will be good for everybody, everyone will benefit from it, even the poor clubs. It's like, no, they won't. Because the reason why the poor clubs are so fun is when they beat teams like Real Madrid and Chelsea and Man United and Man City. That's why those teams are fun, because you never know who's going to come in and beat these bigger teams. I mean, sure, 9 times out of 10 they're going to win. The big teams are going to win, but there's that one time that's going to, spark the poor teams franchise. Well, I shouldn't say poor team, but the worst teams, the smaller clubs, those kinds of teams like Sheffield United or I don't know, Real Betis or teams like that. They're not very prominent in their respective leagues and things like that.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you. But again, I mean, like the teams, like teams like you said, I mean, they made it to the UEFA League. Like they deserve to be there. I mean, they're not bad. So I get it. Like these teams want more screen time, so to say, and like they want to like play against each other. But like at the same time, I mean, you guys are in the UEFA Champions League. You're gonna face teams like Real Betis and like bad teams, so to say. I mean, it is what it is.
Right. I mean, like, that's what the Champions League is for. The Champions League is essentially the better structured Super League. I mean, like we said the one day, if if these clubs would have came to UEFA and said, hey, we have a business idea for you, and marketed it better and said, like, we're going to stay in these leagues, we're going to stay with the World Cup, we're going to stay in the Champions League, but we're also going to do this. Would you guys be interested in sponsoring that? And, you know, if that happened, maybe UEFA says, like, oh, yeah, like, we'll consider it, or like, yeah, let's do it. That sounds like a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. They could have actually made this work, and I think it would have been a great idea, besides the fact that the teams would have to leave their domestic leagues and leave FIFA and everything else, because then it's just like, why, you know?
Yeah, and I think that was, yeah, and like you said, I mean, this definitely could have worked, like, absolutely. If, like, you could have formed like a new league without, like, kind of like saying, like, oh, we kind of want to leave because we don't want to play these bad teams. Like, I honestly would have loved to see this. Like, if everything worked out, I would have loved to see this Super League, because I would have loved to see these teams battle each other. And most of them do anyway in the UEFA League.
Right. I mean, it usually ends up being like Liverpool and Real Madrid.
Like right now, it's Chelsea and I know it's PSG and. I can't remember who they are.
It's hard to keep track. And plus, it's kind of getting all messed up right now because of everything going on with the Super League. So
yeah, that's true too.
But that's going to kind of wrap us up here for soccer. We're ending a little short on our soccer segment because we want to give our little bit of a goodbye here. As you know, WWE is up next. That's going to be a great segment. I mean, these guys have been working hard on this. They're really excited about it. But you know, we want to give a quick goodbye before Kevin comes on and does wraps up the whole shebang. So,
well, you go first.
Oh,
Josh.
I'm going first. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I want to personally thank Crescenzo Fano. I hope you're watching, buddy. He dragged me into this mess about a year and a half ago. So I want to thank him for bringing me on here, and it's really meant a lot, and it's really fun doing this stuff. I mean, I haven't done TV since high school, and I really enjoy it now, and you know, it's been a good time. I also want to give some shout outs to my friends and family for supporting me, specifically Nick. I hope you're watching. You asked for a shout out. I'm giving you a shout out. This is your shout out. But no, so this is my final goodbye. You know, I'm really happy with how this show has gone, and it's been fun. But despite all of our tough circumstances, I mean, it was fun hosting and things like that. And we started this soccer segment from nothing, out of nowhere, and it's been a good time. I mean, I know I haven't been here since day one, like Aaron behind the camera right now, but you know, it's still been a heck of a time.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to my friends and family that are watching, and I obviously have not been on as long as Josh and Aaron, but it's definitely changed my life a lot. You know, I've made a lot of great friends here in Sports Hour, so it's sad, but you know what? I'm ready to take on the next chapter in my life. But I just want to say thank you guys for bringing, especially Ryan and Mac. They definitely brought me into this, and I couldn't be more happy than I am now. So thank you guys.
Yeah. So before we get all teary-eyed and bleary-eyed, we're gonna wrap this one up a little bit here, and we're gonna get you to your WWE segment. So for one final time, please, Terry Pegula, fix the Sabers. Go Sabers, and have a good night, everybody. Well, not have a good night, but okay. Well. Yeah. I messed that up.
But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving. The ultimate party foul.
You've messed up your son's haircut. Do you try to fix it? Work with what you've got? Or show solidarity?
Thank you, babe. You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Remember that to love America is to love all Americans. Because love has no labels.
Había un niño que era muy sensible a luces y sonidos. Construía escondites donde no podían entrar. No le gustaba mirar a la gente a los ojos. Lo hacía sentir incómodo. Un día se descubrió que tenía autismo. Con ayuda poco a poco aprendió a vivir mejor con ello.
Mientras más pronto se diagnostique, mejor. Conoce las señales en autismspeaks.org.
Your son wants to get a cat, but you're allergic. Do you A, prepare yourself, B, make the best of it,
C squared equals 25.
job!
Or C, find a loophole. When it comes to parenting, there are no perfect answers, but that's okay, because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
We cannot be bystanders.
We can stop to make sure someone is okay.
We can warn someone when their drink isn't safe.
And disrupt the situation.
We can.
Get someone the cab.
Or walk them home safely.
We can make campuses safer for our friends.
Our roommates.
Our classmates, our fellow human beings.
We cannot be bystanders.
We can.
Intervene.
It's on us.
All of us.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Construía escondites donde no podían entrar. No le gustaba mirar a la gente a los ojos. Lo hacía sentir incómodo. Un día se descubrió que tenía autismo. Con ayuda poco a poco aprendió a vivir mejor con ello.
Mientras más pronto se diagnostique, mejor. Conoce las señales en autismspeaks.org.
Your son wants to get a cat, but you're allergic. Do you A, prepare yourself, B, make the best of it,
C squared equals
25.
Good job!
or C, find a loophole? When it comes to parenting, there are no perfect answers, but that's okay, because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
We cannot be bystanders.
We can stop to make sure someone is okay.
We can warn someone when their drink isn't safe.
And disrupt the situation.
We can.
Get someone the cab.
Or walk them home safely.
We can make campuses safer for our friends.
Our roommates.
Our classmates, our fellow human beings.
We cannot be bystanders.
We can.
Intervene.
It's on us.
All of us.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
All right, well, welcome back. The time has come, our last final time, unfortunately, as I'm joined with our 9 other seniors. It's been in the back of my head for, not gonna lie, the whole semester. As I was kind of counting down the days, I was like, man, 6 weeks left, 5 weeks left, 4 weeks left, and now finally it's here. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who has been a part of this crew over the 4 years. I joined spring semester my freshman year. I joined the radio station when I got to school here, fall semester, and I was like, I don't think I want to do the TV station. I don't want to do too much right off the bat. And I did it anyways, and it was probably one of, if not the best decision I ever made. I loved coming to Sports Hour every night and made some great friendships here, as yes, we are friends off the cameras too. That's right. Tomorrow.